so let's have a look at these exam questions, all on deseasonalizing data and things like that. So the table below shows the long-term average of the number of meals served each day at a restaurant. So also shown is the seasonal index. So with this one, the seasons are Monday to Sunday. So here you actually have 7 seasons. So you know how where we had quarters, we had, they were 4. So for 7, we have the 7 days of the week. So we're looking at patterns happening on the weekly days. So when you do your add up all your seasonal index, they will actually add up to 7. Okay. Now sometimes we can work out what an index is because I have only one missing, so I know they all add up, but this one doesn't. So it has 2 missing, so I wouldn't be able to do that. So it says, anyway, so let's go through these questions. It says the seasonal index for Wednesday is 0.84, and I can see that. This tells us on average. So remember, if we said 1 minus 0.84, we end up with 0.16. So that means it's 16% below. Yes. So we're going to say A. That tells us that Wednesday is 16% below. All right. This question 15. Last Tuesday, 108 meals were served. So here, when they say something like that, that's them giving you an actual number. Okay, and then when it asks you, it says the deseasonalized value for this Tuesday is. So hopefully you go, all right, they want deseasonalized. I'll write the formula. So deseasonalized is actual over seasonal index. Well, they told me what the actual was, and then I go, all right, I need the seasonal index for Tuesday, but I can read it up there. So it's 0.71 and I end up with 152. So that one, pretty straightforward questions. Here is where it's got a little bit trickier. They want me to find the seasonal index for Saturday. So we need seasonal index for Saturday. So up here, yep, you can see Saturday and it's missing. So they want the seasonal index, so you should probably just write what that formula is. So if you went and wrote that, it's the actual over the seasonal average. So if I look up here, I can see the actual. So I can see that we have 190. And then we need the seasonal average. So up here, I'm going to have to find the seasonal average. So remember, an average is when you add them all up and you divide by how many, which would be 7. So if I do that, I get 131. So we get the seasonal index would be 190 divided by 131. And so okay, so that ends up being 145. So that one was D. So what previous exams had done a lot of ones where only one seasonal index was missing. So kids didn't do the average. They just did the trick where you add them all up. They know that if there was only one missing, they just subtracted it. But this is where they're starting to test you on whether you really know what a seasonal index is. Okay, so let's keep going. The table below shows the long-term average of daily temperatures. Okay, and we can see that. The seasonal index for winter is closest to. So here, once again, we know they should add up to 4, but when I have 2 missing, I can't just simply do that. So I have to go, all right, the seasonal index is the actual over the seasonal average. So for winter, I can see the actual is 12.6, but I need the seasonal average. So I'm going to have to work that out. So there's 4 seasons. So I add them up and divide by 4. And I end up with 20.3. So this is seasonal average. So 20.3. So when I do that, I end up with 0.62. Okay. So there we go. So there's another one practicing that. And here it says in 20, okay, so we've still sort of got the same table below happening. But it says in 2021, the deseasonalized average maximum daily temperature was this. So was 22. So just be careful. They gave you a deseasonalized value. So you've got a deseasonalized value of 22.2. And the question actually says the actual temperature is what they want for autumn. Okay, so what they're actually asking is for the actual for autumn. So what you want to do is you want to link everything around. Now, if you remember, we had a formula for actual, or sometimes we call reseasonalized. So I'm going to say the actual, but it was called reseasonalized in our notes. But I think I asked you to change it to actual because that's really what you're talking about. And it's the deseasonalized times the seasonal index. So in this case, they said deseasonalized was 2.2. And the seasonal index for autumn, they gave me 0.98. So I get 21.8. So I end up with A. So you just got to be really careful. Read the question, see what you've got, and hopefully you can find the answer. Okay, so question 12. Here, these were what we were talking about when you have to deseasonalize the data. Remember when we started talking about what percentage did it change by? And remember I said, use a made up actual of 100. So these are all those type of questions. So let's have a look here at it. So it says the retail fashions for a large sales for a large department store during spring has a seasonal index of 1.25. Now, to allow for the effects of seasonality, what I want you to write underneath that means to deseasonalize the values. Okay, that's just another way of saying that. So if we want to deseasonalize the values for spring, what are we going to do? So let's have a little look at spring. Spring is 25% above average. So do we think, what are we going to do when we deseasonalize? We are going to what? Decrease or increase them? Decrease them, yes. We're going to decrease when we deseasonalize, okay? Because we want to bring them back to, we're trying to get them back to average or what normal is. So we definitely want decrease. So here's an exam where you would just get rid of those. Get rid of them because you're now down to a 50-50. But here's where I'm telling you, it's easier to just make up an actual. So if I wrote make up an actual of 100. And what I'm going to watch is when I deseasonalize that number, so 100 divided by the seasonal index of 1.25, we end up with 80. So what happened, how much did it decrease by when we went from 100 to 80? What did we decrease by? Yeah. So we decreased by 20. So there's our answer D. Okay? So the next question, they're all very similar. I was trying to show you all of them because, as I said, very poorly done. So that's good for us, means we're going to get another one in our exam and we will get the mark. So the seasonal index for summer is 0.8. So to correct for seasonality, so here's where I'm saying there's that deseasonalized thing again. What are we going to do? So let's have a look. If I had deseasonalized, remember, is actual over seasonal index. So I'm using that 100 to see what happens. Now, if we think about it, 80 is below average. So when we're deseasonalizing, are they going to go up or are they going to go down? They're going to go up, aren't they? So when you see this, you end up with 125. So we went from 100 to 125. So what's happened? We've increased by what? Yeah, increased by 25%. Okay? So increased by 25. So you can get rid of a few choices pretty quickly if you look. So the next one, to correct the sales, so you can see to correct for seasonality, it's another one. For January, 1.6. So it's above average. So we are going to, when we deseasonalize, we are going to decrease. Would you agree? So I'll get rid of the 2 increase so I know for a fact. So, and then I'm just going to use my, made up 100. That's why I'm putting it in little brackets so you know. And then when I do that, I get 30, when I do that, I get 62.5. So I've gone from 100 down to 62.5. So which one is it? It is A. Yeah? We've reduced. Can you see they're nasty? They put in that 62.5. So some kids will just go, bang, that's what it was, but it wasn't. All right. Let's look at this one. So the table shows the number of visitors to an art gallery during summer, autumn, and winter and spring. Okay. So just be careful. They're putting the data, it's going down ways. So it's columns. And they've also given us the quarterly average. So this is like, if you like, this is the seasonal average along here. Yeah. So they've helped us out. So when they ask for the seasonal index for summer, so here we have we have a few years of data. So remember, we need to find the seasonal index for every summer and then average it out. So if you have a look, so here is the actuals, and I'm gonna highlight these for you. So, and here are the seasonal averages. And if I wrote out the formula for seasonal index, so remember seasonal index equals actual over seasonal average. So what I'm going to do is so these are the actuals and these are the seasonal average. So I'm going to find the summer seasonal index for every year. So say 2017, 2018, and 2019. So it will be the actual, so 29,685 divided by the average, which is 7194.0. So that ends up being 1.092. So that's the summer's seasonal index for that year. Then I'm going to do it for this year, the next year. So it's one of the last questions. So I am doing a little bit of more work, but they expect that. And that's why the last ones are harder. So you would have got through some of the earlier questions quicker, and you've got a bit more time to get this one. Okay, so once you've got the seasonal index for each year, so remember, so seasonal index, what you're going to do is you're going to average these out because you want the total seasonal index for the data. So you would add them up and you divide by 3, and we end up with 1.088, which is C.